From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Tuesday, November the 5th, 2024. We open with the news that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu this evening announced that he is dismissing Israel's Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, from that role. Citing a lack of trust between them, the Prime Minister said in a video message tonight in Hebrew, with translation to English from the Times of Israel, saying, unfortunately, although in the first months of the war there was trust and there was very fruitful work, during the last months this trust cracked between me and the defense minister. Netanyahu saying, I made many attempts to bridge these gaps, but they kept getting wider. The Prime Minister said Israel's Foreign Minister Yisrael Katz will replace Gallant as defense minister, and Minister without portfolio Gideon Sa'ar will replace Katz as foreign minister. And turning to Israel's complex defense and security situation, Israeli troops continue to battle terror groups on multiple fronts. The IDF said in Gaza during the last day, the forces located hundreds of weapons, including rocket launchers, RPG missiles, explosives, Kalashnikov rifles, and more of terror group Hamas, and that troops eliminated terrorists and destroyed terrorist infrastructure. In a counter-terror operation in Samaria, the West Bank, the IDF said it hit an armed terror cell, confiscated weapons and terrorist funds, destroyed improvised explosive devices, and arrested 9 wanted persons. The IDF also said today that it hit munitions warehouses used by the weapons unit of terror group Hezbollah in the area of Al-Qusayr in Syria. Meanwhile, northern Israel continues to be bombarded by rockets from Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the IDF continues to respond to the Hezbollah attacks, hitting Hezbollah terror targets and terror infrastructure in Lebanon. The IDF also intercepted a drone launched at northern Israel from Lebanon and a drone fired towards the area of the Dead Sea and Masada. The IDF said following the warning of the infiltration of a hostile aircraft that was activated in Masada, the Air Force intercepted an unmanned aircraft that crossed into the country from the east. The east, presumably referring to Iraq. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken spoke with Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani yesterday about the situation with Lebanon, where the State Department said the secretary emphasized it is important that Iraq not be drawn into regional conflict and underscored the need for Iraq to exert control over armed groups launching unauthorized attacks from its territory. Blinken spoke on Sunday with Egyptian Foreign Minister Badr Abdelati to discuss the importance of bringing the war in Gaza to an end, securing the release of all hostages, and increasing humanitarian assistance in Gaza. And the State Department said the secretary also noted that Hamas, it wrote, has once again refused to release even a limited number of hostages to secure a ceasefire and relief for the people of Gaza. This refers to a proposal by Egypt that reportedly proposed an initial 48-hour ceasefire and the release of 4 hostages over 10 days, as well as the release of dozens of Palestinian security prisoners. The Secretary of State spoke with Gallant yesterday, where the State Department said he reaffirmed the United States' ironclad commitment to Israel's security against threats from Iran and Iran-backed proxy groups, and emphasized the importance of ending the war in Gaza and bringing all of the hostages home, as well as charting a path forward in Gaza to rebuild. The hostages still held captive by Hamas in Gaza now for 396 days. Well, turning now to the U.S., a woman and 2 men were charged today with hate crimes related to defacing and vandalizing homes of the Brooklyn Museum's director, who is Jewish, and board members of the museum who had Jewish-sounding names. Back in June of this year, if you recall, vandals covered the home's entrances with red paint and hateful anti-Semitic graffiti, writing "blood on your hands" and more, as well as painting inverted red triangles, symbols associated with Hamas. Brooklyn District Attorney Eric Gonzalez said these actions are not protests, they are hate crimes, and we are deeply committed to holding accountable anyone who uses such unlawful tactics in Brooklyn. CEO of the Anti-Defamation League, Jonathan Greenblatt, said these hate crime charges are a welcome step towards accountability for this despicable and cowardly act. Well, it is election day here in the U.S., with voters heading to the polls. And as with the rest of the country, Jewish American voters are divided on key issues like Israel policy and fighting anti-Semitism. The American Jewish Committee, in a Get Out the Vote post, reminding the public that regardless of viewpoint, participating in democracy is a precious and powerful gift. With each vote, a step towards shaping the future we believe in. We will, of course, be watching as the results come in and hope to have more for you on tomorrow's newscast. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS. For Tuesday, November the 5th at 7 o'clock, Professor Uzi Rabi presents a lecture titled Hamas Indoctrination, De-humanizing the Jews. At 8, Justin Pine speaks with Rabbi David Rosenn, President and CEO of the Hebrew Free Loan Society, which creates economic stability and opportunity for lower-income New Yorkers within and beyond the Jewish community. At 9, it's a look at the controversial Jewish leader Meir Kahane. At 9:30 tonight, we remember Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, who was assassinated on November the 4th of 1995. At 10, it's the ILTV's Insider, which is also coming up next. At 10:30, an encore of the news. And that's the JBS News Update for Tuesday, November the 5th, 2024. I'm Teisha Bader. Am Yisrael Chai.